All right, you guys, we're back with the round four of Edison plus one format of a band card. And to the left, you got myself, Antonio, still with Dandy Dragons. And to the right, you got Brandon, still with Gladiator Beast. And if I had to be honest, I think this is a rough match for me, just because I know that the Dandy Dragon does rely heavily on like the Breeze Dragon, White Stones, and a lot of monster effects, right? And Gladiator Bees being able to and running the better card, which I think is Chariot, can be a blowout in my eyes, right? But we'll see how Brandon plays the deck and how I play the deck, and I'll get into a little more detail of certain plays and why I decided to do certain moves, and vice versa, possibly why Brandon decided to do his plays. So to start off, uh, yeah, my deck's still doing what it does, which is trying to draw cards, trying to get to those one for one cards, which are the one of cards, which is like one for one foolish, future, brain control, mind control. And there it is, trading again, discarding blue eyes. Yeah, so the concept of my deck is just draw and just establish a graveyard and being able to set up Stardust or anything to answer my opponent's board. But so Brandon summons a monster and I chain trap Dust Shoot. So I return, I believe it was a Test Tiger. So his hand was Compose, Book of Moon. I'm sorry, it was Compose, Smashing, Bottomless. So he hits the Retiari, he special summons Murmillo, destroys one of my tokens. I guess I got pretty fortunate that it wasn't a Laquari, because then he would have been able to go Retiari to banish the dandy that he ran over. But he goes Murmillo, destroys two, and then I follow up with, I think it was Heavy Storm, just to answer the board. And this is where I heavy, and I thought he was going to compose my token, but in reality he composes his Murmillo. I normal summon the Breeze Dragon. Once again, Synchro for 8, Synchro for Stardust, and end up with 2 tokens. And that's one of the good things and bad things about my deck, which is, yes, it can produce tokens, but against GBs, you don't want to leave any monsters that they can just attack and tag out for free. So he summons a Murmillo, attacks, and then tags out. And then one of you guys might be debating, or you guys might be debating on, why didn't he Smashing Ground, summon Murmillo, attack a token, and then banish the Stardust? I think he knew my face down was something live, so I think to me he did the better play. And this is where it gets interesting on my part, because he sets two, so I think that personally he has Smashing still in hand, and one of them I already know is going to be a Compose. So, and I thought he might have drawn into something live, right? So if I go end phase Wing Blast, discard two Dandy to set up 2 tokens, then I'd be able to get rid of his only monster by being able to summon a White Stone Synchro for 8. And considering that if one of the back row was Composed, I'd be able to get rid of a Laquari, and then he'd be top decking, hoping to draw a monster. So that was my logic behind Wing Blasting one of the back rows, considering that I did know it was a Compose. But in this case, it did pay off, because I was able to attack and then attack with Armory Arm, so I got in there for some more damage. Keep in mind, he already took the damage earlier with the Stardust and it's some more damage. So for draw phase, he does activate the Compose, and I go ahead and activate Pot of Avarice targeting 5. So in my eyes, I'm to believe that he has a random unknown back row and a Smashing in hand. Ideally, that's what my concept is. So my thing is, if I can get into another monster to have a floater or anything bigger than him top decking a Laquari, which would be the stronger monster, then I'd have a good advantage. But he did bluff me out, and he set the Smashing. He was able to attack with Darius and special summon E-Quest. He was able to add a Laquari, and he set a back row. So I guess it was fortunate for me and unfortunate because I thought I was trying to outsmart him with that wing blast, but he did have another monster for follow, and the other unknown back row was the smashing ground. So at this point, I reveal Gaia and Dandy, and I still, yes, I only play the one target still, which is the one alias. Yeah, you guys can say what you want, but I'm not playing no Stratos. That's a normal summon I don't want to risk. And then I summon alias. Oh, I'm sorry, I summon Valley, and I draw two cards with that Dandy, and I set a back row, right? And then he draws for turn, and he doesn't summon the other Laquari, which I get is justifiable if he has no response to a Torrential or a Mirror Force. Then he'd be, setting himself up for, a fortunate failure. But in this case, he's playing it smart. He's going for the one for ones, and I summons Bessie. I chain Reckless, and he drew one new back. So for draw phase, he hits me with Trap Dust Shoe. So I already know the one card in his hand is Laquari. And for me at this point, it's all gas, which is once again one for one, Graceful, Card of Continents, Trooper, Dandy, and a Blue Eyes. I I love the one for one Dandy. I know you guys know in Frogs you can take advantage of it just by specialman substitute and doing things, but I like drawing cards from it. So Cyber Valley and one for one are one of the better combinations. So, but he does decide to return the Dandelion, which kind of took away that play. But I go ahead and activate Graceful. I draw three, and I don't. I believe I don't hit anything to get any advantage, but just to modify my hand. So yeah, I know he. I'm still debating because it can go either way, which is I can summon the card trooper, just run over the Bestiari, but he would still have full advantage with next turn the Laquari to run it over and still go Bestie. So I have to kind of set up my hand and set up my board with follow up, considering that he is going to have a Darius to blow my field, right? And I did draw into Red MD, I believe, and right now, unknowingly, he doesn't know a good. Well, three cards in my hand, which is good. But I go ahead and dump Dandy with Foolish. And I know he doesn't have Chariot at this point because last turn I was able to summon Cyber Valley and he didn't negate it. So I go ahead and summon the Breeze again, Synchro for 8, and bring out once again Stardust. Ghost Rare, by the way. Nice. And then I special him 2 tokens. Once again, those tokens are awful against GB. I wouldn't encourage. I even side out one Dandy against the GB matchup just because it's a card I don't want to see or have my opponent just use as food to always continuously attack and tag out and take a full advantage of it. But at this time, I do know he just has a Bestie, a back row, and a Laquarian hand still. I declare an attack, and he does take a while debating. Judge. No, I'm joking, but as he's really thinking it through, maybe just because he knows that he does have the Laquari and he'd be able to tag both of them out for Darius or just do a one for one. So yeah, he mirror forces. And then the other play that I would genuinely just think is if he's able to save both monsters, he'd be able to attack both tokens and summon Mermillo, destroy, and then tag out the second one for Retiari and banish the Stardust and Graveyard. But right now is when I go one for one and Specialman Cyber Valley. I wish I had mind control or brain control in this situation. It just would have been a blowout. The faster you can get rid of the bestie or banish it through bottomless or any, deep prison, something unknown, it's when it gets easier for your deck. But yeah, I do draw two. And with that, I already know he has a Laquaria and bestie coming up. So there's not much I can do about it. End phase, I still do have my starters. But that play that I just mentioned, which is attacking and attacking, would be able to, out the Stardust. And he looks at my grave. I'm not sure what he's checking for. Maybe just to see what's live or what's not. Which would be on time. In this case, it would be 1-for-1. No, I'm sorry, not 1-for-1. Mind control or brain control, just to take advantage of whatever he does want to try bringing out. So, but he top decks the Test Tiger, and he's able to tag it out for Secator. And once again, those freaking dandy tokens are coming back to bite me in the. Yeah, I say in the butt, but yeah, it's not a good sight. Future reference for those of you guys that play any decks, like quick draw and stuff like that, you just might want to side out one dandy. So in this situation, he attacks both my tokens, goes Secator, uses Secator effect, brings out Retiari, and Mermillo. He goes Chainlink 1, Stardust, and Chainlink 2, Retiari. For those that aren't familiar with that play, it basically allows him to chain block, and then he tags out the Laquari to destroy the back row. Oh, I think this is what he told me he was debating on. I recall this conversation because if he would have left the Laquari, it still would have been the same outcome. Just because the following turn I did have the Future Fusion coming back, and that would have been a threat as well. So not only did he have to answer the actual Future Fusion, but the starters on top of that. So it was a lot of pressure just for him to deal with. And this is what I'm talking about. I had the red eyes, and I was able to go ahead and banish the white stone, use the effect, and Specialman Stardust, and continuously, guess what? Now we're back in the game just like that. And I hit over the Gazars, hit over the Mermillo, and at this point, there's no card, or should I say, no real card he can really top deck. Maybe I don't even think a Rescue Cat would do anything, or should I say, do much. He draws, he scoops it up. Red Eyes coming in clutch, and honestly, that was just. I guess I would say I was fortunate, just him not seeing Chariot early on, and me just being able to take early advantage. It did help, and I told him I took a 50-50 chance on that face down. After seeing what I saw with the Trap Dust shoe, I took a 50-50 because I was able to return one of the compulsory evacuation devices, and with that compose, I was able to give me 2 tokens, right? But on top of that, it was also able to give me a synchro for level 4. So in my head, I was still answering his established monster. And right now, for game 2, one of the better cards that I do side against the GB matchup, I wouldn't even say the better card, but I think in certain decks, if you do play Reckless Greed, I would encourage playing Offerings to the Doom. If you guys are not familiar with that card, it targets one face-up monster on the field, destroy it, but skip your draw phase, right? So, considering that I do play Reckless Greed, why should I say they stack up? So it's not like you're skipping 3 draw faces, you're just skipping your 2 draw faces for those of you guys that aren't familiar with it. So that's one card that I like right now, just because I do know that Trap Stun is very prominent, and a lot of people are playing preferably GB decks. I've seen a couple Blackwing decks try it out, but overall the GBs takes full advantage, right? Which is they go Trap Stun, they summon, or they have a monster already face up, and then they summon Persima, and then they do their GB plays. But That's one of the quick cards right now that I think it's very prominent and exciting. And then considering it's GB, I did put in a few back row removal, mainly MST, Dust Tornado, and Trapstun. Just because I don't main MST, I think it is a good card. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those that if you're going first, it does nothing. If you're going second, uh, you rather draw into something that's gonna continuously allow you to draw and maintain some type of board advantage rather than just I'm gonna draw MST and hope to get rid of my opponent's three back row. Like it's not gonna do enough, right? But that's another discussion, right? And you only really need it for Black Wings because the only target you ever really want to get rid of is Whirlwind, or if you play MST, you just want to get rid of random little miscellaneous back row like hero beat decks and stuff like that. But overall, like in the Frog matchup, you don't want to be down another card. If you're playing against Vayu Turbo, it's not even that great neither because most of the time they are able to chain those cards. So just things to think about. But anyways, finally we're starting game 2. And this is where Brandon does get to go first. And let's see what he opens up with. Keep in mind, this is fast forward. So it's not that he's taking long. It's just that him and I, we've been playing for this game for so long, right? So I'm not saying every play is very analytical, or should I say, like precise, but it kind of is, considering that we know each other's game or and play style. We we know how to be very conservative with certain cards, right? And you guys do see I set one and I set two back row, and he's still debating, right? Considering his game 2 now, he in his eyes he knows that I do side for real cards, so he summons Rescue Rabbit. I'm sorry, Rescue Cat tributes and specialmans both Sam Knights. So he attacks. I do have a token. He attacks. He gets rid of the other token. And you guys might be wondering why is it that he didn't special summon Sam Knight and Rescue, not Rescue Cat. I'm sorry, and Test Tiger. It's just primarily because of decks like mine, siding into Regeki Break and then just killing off his one target. So uh, I think that's another thing you got to consider when playing this deck. So, but he does go bestie, target my back row, specialms Retiari, targets my Dandy, fuses both away for Gazars and targets both, and I do have another Reckless Greed. So once again, just being able to play Reckless Greed in certain decks, it's the concept of the decks are to draw, then I would encourage playing Reckless. So I summon Card Trooper on mill 3, and I do mill a stone. And I think at this time I have a trade in, so I'm really just digging to fill up the graveyard. And I know you guys saw I did have Paw earlier, and I'm just trying to load up the graveyard, considering that I'm trying to draw it out for the Gazars. And I said 3 and I passed turn.
I wasn't supposed to keep this in, but somehow.
And this is this is where me and him both laughed, just because I had a brain fart. I kept in Trap Does Shoot game 2, when in reality I was supposed to side it out. I'm not sure what happened, but as you guys saw his hand, it was Double Chariot, a Book of Moon, and Gores.
Yeah, no, it's face up.
And I activated Offerings to Doom, as I mentioned earlier, and he does go ahead and he reads it. He's like, "Oh, it's got to be face up." I'm like, "Yeah." So he's debating whether to chain his Book of Moon or not. So he does chain Book of Moon, and to save his Garsars. So in my head, I'm thinking that other face down, considering I know it's bottomless. So I hit him with the Pro Set Heavy, and it was another Book of Moon bottomless. And at this point, I can just take over by attacking the Gazars, beating it over, and slowly gaining advantage. And keep in mind, I do know that he does have the Gorse in hand just because of that trap dust shoe. I didn't decide to return it for that same reason because I can always out it. I attack 300 and 1,000 directly. In my eyes, if he didn't drop the Gorse, and I was still going to synchro into a 7 and then an 8. But in this case, I have two Black Rose just because it eliminates any boards and it keeps him at bay with just two Chariots, right? So in my eyes, he's really just top decking. He needs any GB, and he's got two dead Chariots. So and on top of that, I have my Pot of Avarice, which is now live. So things are looking good. I have like bonus Blue Eyes and like four cards in my hand. So from that Reckless, so
I just need to draw offering. One more fucking offering.
and that's all my deck does, right? It just slowly beats away and it chews away at my opponent's board. One for ones, meaning I use one card to get rid of their one card, but simultaneously I do gain a card as well. So, but he does draw us into Equest, special summons, Laquari sets too. So now I know it's Laquari and two Chariots,
I need it though. If you pray on it, you ready?
and I can finally draw again because no longer under Reckless. And this is where him and I both laugh just because at the time I didn't have an out, but guess what? I drew an offering to do. I special summoned, and I did return the Dandy. I don't like to special summon the Dandy off the breeze
I guess I can
against the GBs just because then once again it just gives them monsters to attack. I use Card Trooper, although I don't gain the attack, I could still always use it, and sure enough, get another Blue Eye. So synchro for two, and then I already know if he doesn't answer this Black Rose, just considering that
You're good. Nice one.
he took so much damage already, it's gonna eat away at his life. So
Go for it.
I'm gonna find a way to put little, when I say life point counter on the bottom.
Attack.
As I learn more about this stuff,
One time.
you guys see me mess with it. And sure enough, he told me he didn't draw nothing, which was another back row removal, trap stun, chariot, bottomless. It wasn't looking good. And in my hand, I had blue eyes, card of continents. So I was just ready to go off again if he did answer that Black Rose. Ideally, though, I still say this matchup, although I did pull it off, I don't like it. It's not as favorable as a lot of the other matchups. So just something to keep an eye out. And furthermore, I'm going to go ahead and explain it right now for those of you guys want to stick around. I played against Brandon. I had lost the third round, so considering that he was down paired with me, and I ended up beating him that last match. I wasn't able to record that last match, so we did get a winner, right? And it was Chris, another friend of mine. He ended up winning with Black Queen, and the one card he did decide to play was Ring of Destruction. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and be posting his deck profile a little bit later, and I'll just show you guys his concept and what he tried doing for the +1 card. In his head, he's just like, hey, Ring of Destruction. If I can win and she's out to win, and being so aggressive with as Black Wings are, I understand why he kept doing that, or should I say why he added that Ring of Destruction, just because it's a way to put your opponent on a timer, meaning that turn for turn they have to answer your board. If not, guess what? Kalu and all the little petty damage that Blackwing always does will find a way to chip away at his life. So with that being said, I'm out, you guys, and thank you guys. I'll be posting more for next week. Just keep an eye out. Peace out, you guys. Shout out Brandon. Shout out Cameron. Shout out Rob. Everybody else. China. I know I saw you the other day, so peace out, you guys.